Hello, my name is Tomasz Poszetek, and in this video I will show you how you can mention whatever is mentionable within Microsoft Teams when speaking about sending this information from Cloud Flows using adaptive cards. So I will show you how you can mention tags, how you can mention users, how you can mention channels, and how you can mention teams, and basically how you can even mention all these things together in just one message, one adaptive card. So I will be showing different approaches, different techniques, because not everything is feasible, straightforward, or the way we think it should be feasible. However, in most of the cases, you will be able to achieve what you need following my steps. And then if you need to find some more details, then look for them in my blog, because I will as well publish a blog post with all the details around these techniques. All right, so ready? Let's go. Now, first, I want just to simply explain what is a tag, because tags are not something that was in Microsoft Teams ever since the Microsoft Teams was created. I actually realized it is present just like a month ago. So a tag is like a subgroup. It's like a cross group of Microsoft Teams members. So imagine that you have your all team members, grouped within like a team, and then you can group them into channels. However, if you'd like to mention members of different channels in a single way, with a single mean, then this is the tag that comes to help. Because a tag is simply like a subgroup. It's like a cross group, cross channels, so that you can create a tag, you can name it, you can put a description, and then you can associate different members from different channels within that team to this tag, so that whenever you use that tag in a communication, in a conversation, in a message, then all these members, all these team members associated with this tag are going to be notified, not every team member or not every channel member. So this will help you when you would like to simply notify a specific subgroup of team members, not everyone that is present in that team. Wow, that was long. So let's go now and see the Cloudflow and the ways you can actually mention all these things. So the Cloudflow seems to be quite long, because I put in a one Cloudflow all the methods I will be talking about. And also I made it dynamic. So you can see here that the flow is actually first obtaining the team information, then is listing channels, because there is no get a channel action. So it has to list channels, and then I'm using the filter array to only leave this channel that I really want to perform all the operations in, and as well which I want to mention. So I'm filtering this list of return channels to leave just cards test. Then I'm obtaining two user profiles, and then I'm doing the same operation as I've done for the channels for tags. So I'm listing all the tags and then leaving only the tag that is called adaptive cards. Next, what I'm doing in this Cloudflow is I wanted to show you as well that we can use these already those actions which are already within the Microsoft Teams stack of action for a couple of months. And I think that get@mention token for a user is present for over a year, if not 2 years already. No idea how long the get@mention for tag is present. Nevertheless, you don't necessarily need to create a sophisticated code to mention user. You can simply use these actions which are generating this @mention code, and then you can easily just put this @mention code into your adaptive card or into your message, and this will simply do all the work for you. You can find as well information how to use it on my blog. All right. So anyways, I'm getting information for all these users, and as well I'm getting information for this adaptive cards token. And then the first action, because you can see there is there is as well some more actions to be executed. However, as for now, they're all turned off using the static results. So the first action I'm using is to post this tag mention using a user. So posting this tag mention as a user, because what I read in documentation and what simply upset me a little bit, and actually I confirmed this while I was testing all these steps before the recording, is that you are unable, or at least I wasn't able. Maybe I've done something wrong, or I'm still convinced this is just not feasible. To simply post a mention for a tag using a flowbot. So the only way you can post this mention to mention a tag is to use the user context. And so for that purpose, I use this very simple action to first show you how this mention for a tag looks like in Microsoft Teams. All right, so this is going to be the first test. Let's simply see how this mention a tag looks like. And as you saw, I'm simply using an outcome of this get at mention token for the tag action, right? So I'm not using any kind of code calls or whatever. It's just everything based on the actions. All right. So right now the message has been posted, and I can see that the tag is mentioned. I can see that I have been as well mentioned. And when I hover this tag, I see all this information about the tag. So I can see the description, and as well, I can see members who are associated to this tag. So, yep, the first test, it worked. So let's navigate back. And this time I will switch the static results for the first action, for this first method. So I will turn off this action. All right. And I will now open or enable the second action. So to mention through Flowbot with mention actions. So here I need to disable or enable the disable static results. So you can see that again, here the action is posting as a Flowbot, and it is posting its adaptive card to the channel. And it as well has 3 text blocks. So the first text block is mentioning the users. I mean, two first mentioning users, and the third one is mentioning the tag. So let's see if it works. Now it's going to be the second test now, right? Okay, and then I'll just navigate here. And nothing shows up because, as you can see, there is this error message that is saying that mentioning currently is supported only when posting as a user. So what I have to do is to simply change the scope in this action here. I just need to copy the code from the Flowbot into the user so that this adaptive card is going to be posted as a user, right? So let's test it again. All right, and this time everything should work as expected. Right. So there is some kind of a mix up because there should be like one trigger should be general researcher, the other one should be me. However, the tag is mentioned as well, and the mention for the tag works just fine. So with that, I just showed you that you are able to mention user, you are able to mention a tag using the post to the post that we've got into a chat or channel as the user. Now, when speaking about mentioning channels and teams, as you saw, there is no action called get at mention tag for a channel or get at mention tag for a team. Therefore, it is not really feasible to mention neither channel or team directly from the UI that we have in Cloudflows. However, what you can try to do is to create your custom adaptive card with your custom mentions. So what I've built here is again the same adaptive card as you saw. However, this time instead of using the outcomes of at mention actions, it is using the construct called at. So it's simply having those tags at to wrap first display names, then the tag name, and then the channel name. And what I'm using here is as well this msteams object that is being added to adaptive cards sent to teams, and it can contain different properties One of them is entities, and entities entities contains mentions. So as I went through documentation, I was able to find out, documentation and lots of blog posts and lots of chats on forums. I was able to figure out that if you'd like to mention a user this way, you actually need to use this construct of entities, then build objects with mention types, and then the mentioned has to have the ID starting from 8, and then origin, and then the ID of the user. I tried as well to do the same for the for the tag. So here is the mention for the tag, and I saw somewhere on the forum that it should be feasible to mention a channel using this kind of an object to put in the msteams object within this adaptive card. So let's see if it is going to work. Now this action is posting as a flowbot, right? So it will certainly not allow me to display tags, but maybe I will be surprised. So now it's being saved and it should be running in just a second right now. So now it's running. Right, so I've been already mentioned. As you can see, the action has been executed. But what was actually mentioned, let's see. So first the user was mentioned, the general researcher, because this time I didn't make a mistake. So user was mentioned, I was mentioned, the tag wasn't mentioned. So with this approach, because I was sending as a flowbot, I wasn't able to mention a tag. And the channel, well, it is displayed as a hyperlink. However, when I'm hovering it, it doesn't really display any information about that channel. So I believe that it doesn't really work, right? So the channel has been mentioned. However, I doubt it really was mentioned. But let's leave it for now, and let's go back for a moment here. And what I'm going to do is to simply copy this action that contains, that is being executed by the user, and I'll put it here. I'll rename it now to, mention, through user, and I'll put here all the code that this action contains. Okay. So instead of that code, which is using @mentions, I'll put this code. Of course, I'll disable the static results for this action. I will enable static results for this action. And let's see. So right now I'm going to do the same test. So to send adaptive card with manually defined @mentions here. However, this time this is going to be sent in the context of the user, so in the context of my account. So let's see if a channel is going to be mentioned this time successfully or still with some kind of an issue, because, well, maybe this structure to mention a channel is a little bit different and I am using it wrong. And was there an error or something? Right. Message mention text needs to be specified. Message mention. Oh, that's something new to me. So I unfortunately don't know what this error means. What message text should be mentioned, because everything here is mentioned. So honestly, no idea what is wrong in here. So that's something I will possibly need to debug in a moment or after I'm done with the video. And hopefully I will post the results in the blog post that you will find all these details and all the code that I'm using as well. So anyway, I wasn't able to send this structure as a user. So I was able to do that as a flowbot. So right now I'll disable this action. And another approach you can use is to send adaptive card through a webhook that you can create to send context to a specific team or a channel, basically. To create a webhook, you have to navigate to your Microsoft Teams, then go into the webhook, into the channel connectors, right? So here you have under the menu of a channel, you can find connectors. And straight from here, you can create a new connector or to see what have you configured already. And one of the connectors you can create is the webhook. So you can configure the connector, you can create a new one, you have to just name it. And once you create it, here you have the URL display that you can simply copy, and then you can post whatever you want to this channel. So in this case, I have already created like 3 webhooks. So you can see that I'm using this webhook that is called now the cards test, and that is the one that is saved. And here is the URL that you have to copy to post messages to the webhook. All right, so now let me show you what you can do with the webhook. So with the webhook, I have used a slightly different approach that is described as well in the documentation that describes how an adaptive card should be sent using the webhook approach. So you can see it is not like a pure adaptive card. It is an adaptive card wrapped in the JSON that is called the message. So it is a message. It contains attachments. And this time as well, the mentions are, let's say, listed below as the part of the code. So there is all the information that I should possibly use. And again, this is the information I found in the documentation. So well, if they write this way, if they describe it this way, then it should work. Okay, everything is set, so I can simply now trigger this test to see how this is going to work. Oh, lots of talking, right? So now it is running, and done. So let's navigate back to Microsoft Teams. All right, so here I can see that actually the adaptive card has been sent. It is being sent by the incoming webhook. And there is the tag, there is user, there is second user, there is even a channel. However, they all behave the same way as in that first example where I was sending this mention using the Flowbot. So I think that this is not really working because I wasn't the message isn't marked that I've been mentioned here, even though that these let's say labels are displayed like hyperlinks, but it doesn't work. So through webhook, I was able to accomplish what I wanted. So I can assume that these @mentions are really the @mentions. However, they are not working as expected. So I can't hover them and I can't see any details being expanded. So I really doubt this is working. If you have different experience around this approach, please reach out to me because I'd love to learn more. I think it doesn't work. Moreover, if you use the webhook approach and you send adaptive card, you are unable to get any kind of response from this adaptive card. So even though you would be able to send a form, like the user would be able to fill in information, then you are not going to be able to send information from this adaptive card back to anything else. So using webhooks, you are only able to send adaptive cards like an informative ones, so that they only displays information. They can contain hyperlinks, of course, and buttons that open URLs. However, you are not able to perform any submit actions. All right, so that was another test. Let's navigate back to the process. And now I'll turn off this action and let's navigate to the 2 last ones. So the two latest actions, they're actually doing the same thing. So they're both sending information to an endpoint in graph Microsoft.com that is used to send a message to a channel. However, the difference between them is that if you'd like to use the invoke an HTTP request, you need to have the premium license. If you'd like to use the HTTP action from the groups 365 set stack of actions, then this action is actually in a standard license. So for this one, you don't really need a subscription. So I just put the second action to test if the second approach would work. Yes, it does. So by invoking an HTTP request, you can accomplish the same thing as by using this action from the Office groups stack of actions. And now what this action is meant to do is again to send an adaptive card to Microsoft Teams. However, this time it is using the graphAPI endpoint. And so here you can see that the structure of the message is way more different than anything else we had seen before, I've been using before. So first of all, it contains subject, it contains body, and then body is defining the content. So the content here is HTML. The content contains attachment. Now the attachment is defined as a separate object. The attachment actually is this adaptive card. So the content type of that attachment is application VND Microsoft Card Adaptive, and the content of this attachment has to be escaped. So you can't simply paste JSON of the adaptive card. Before you do that, you have to escape it. Plus, what you can see here is that the mentions are not just simple add tags, but every add tag now contains a different identifier, right? So this one contains 0, the second one is 1, the third one is 2, then is third and is fourth. So here I'm mentioning 2 users, I am mentioning the channel, I am mentioning the team as well, and I am mentioning a tag. So I'm mentioning everything that I can mention using this approach. And then every mention has its own unique ID. And because everything here is escaped, as you can see, the new lines are escaped by this \r\n, and quotes are escaped by the single backslashes. Plus, because the ID has to be escaped in the first place, therefore it is being like double escaped. So you can select 3 backslashes before every quote inside the ID. And then what is the most important in that approach is this section called mentions. So apart from attachments, this code contains as well a piece that is called mentions. And here in mentions, there is the definition of every mention being used in adaptive card, or this mention can be as well used here in the body. So you can as well put in the content the @ID, whatever, and use the mention as well. So the point is that either in adaptive card or in the content, there has to be a mention for that ID. So it has to be resolvable. Anyways, the way you are mentioning different entities is different, obviously. So for the user, you have to provide their ID, display name, and this user identity type called with the value AID user. And as well, the mention has to be containing the object called user. Now, speaking about the tag, the channel, you need to mention it using the object called conversation, and it contains ID, display name, and the conversation identity type called channel. Speaking about the team, it is the same as for the conversation. However, this time the conversation identity type is having the value team. And then lastly, I put this mention for the tag because you can as well mention tag this way. And mentioning tags does not contain any identity types. It only has to contain this object called tag and then ID of a tag and its display name. So that's it. That's it, and it's a lot. So to prepare this kind of structure dynamically, you'll really have to think hard on how to construct it in your Cloudflare. But well, it's all doable, right? So it's just JSON. So anything you have to do, you can just do it. You can just do within the Cloudflare. All right, so let's save it and send. So here again, the process is being executed, and in a moment it should execute the mention with graph test. So let's jump over here, and here we are. So that is the last execution, last test. So here the message has been sent, of course, by myself, because that action is using my personal context. And this time mentioning of myself work, because I can see that there is this @mention symbol here in the message. Furthermore, when I hover it, I can see all the information about myself. The channel mention works as well fine. So this is what I didn't see here. This is why I think it's not working. For the team, it works as well. So I see all the information about the team. And speaking about adaptive card, about the tag, it works as well. So by sending this information to the graph endpoint, you are able to mention anything, anything. However, this adaptive card looks slightly different. So it has this padding from the top, and you're just unable to do actually anything with that. This is because there is this section for like the ribbon or the header reserved, and it has this small menu. Plus, the second downside of this approach is the same as with the webhook. So you are able to send a form with this adaptive card, within this adaptive card. However, you are unable to grab any post, any submit requests or responses from these adaptive cards. So the only interaction that the user can perform with this adaptive card is to press buttons that are opening URLs. But you are unable to ask them to fill in the form and then grab the response from this form. So the only way you can use this adaptive card, this approach, is to simply send a notification with maybe some call to action buttons, but unfortunately without any interactivity with the user or with the team members or with whomever. All right, and that is it. So let me do just a small wrap up. So first, there are several ways to send, to mention users, to mention tags, to mention channels, and to mention teams. However, all of them are having their pros and cons. And this is really up to you which approach you need to use or which approach you will use to compete or to fulfill your business requirements. As you saw, you're unable to mention channel or a team using the simple approach with the post an adaptive card to a chat or channel, either as a user or as a bot. That is a downside, of course, because you're unable to mention a large group of people. However, if you want still to be able to use this kind of functionality, and on the other hand, to be able to send as well a form where the users are able to write some data and then submit it back to Cloudflow, then the workaround is to use a tag and then to associate a larger number of employees with that tag. So this way you simply be able to notify still this large number of employees. On the other hand, you are able to post an adaptive card using the graphAPI endpoint, and this way you can mention anything quite easily. However, you are unable to grab any submit responses. So the decision which way to go is actually up to you and up to your business requirements. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please put them down, write them down in comments below the video. And as always, please subscribe and like the video. And until the next time, bye bye.